What's up everyone, Leviathan here, and today I feel like doing another review video. It's been a while, but it's been a while since there's been something worth reviewing, at least to me. So let's talk about this. About a month ago, NewBeeDrone approached me about this frame. They call it the CinemAh. That's Ma with a capital A. Let's dive in. Please remember that all the comments in this video are my honest opinion, even though I was told by NewBeeDrone to only talk positive about it. Just kidding, I wasn't. These are actually my opinions, but full disclosure, I am sponsored by NewBeeDrone. Okay, well, as you can tell, it's basically a Cinewhoop. But it's their take on a Cinewhoop, and there's a lot of little things that are different about this from other Cinewhoops. I own several Cinewhoop style quadcopters, and I have this one, is the Beta 95 V3. Beta FPV decided to make a ready to fly version. This thing flies like crap. I've flown it a few times and it's basically been sitting in the box since I got it. I have this guy, which is more the traditional style Cinewhoop, and here's some of the parts. I actually tore this one down to make this CinemAh here. And this flew okay, but you know, like all Cinewhoops, it's really heavy and really clunky to fly around. It does get the shots thanks to real steady go, but it doesn't fly great. And then this just came out a couple months ago, and actually, as far as this style of quad is concerned, this actually is quite good. It doesn't fly great, but it flies good enough, provided you have a naked GoPro. This is a naked GoPro 8, and when using this combination together, it's actually quite good, but not a lot of people are gonna wanna use this. It's actually pretty cumbersome and kind of an irritating thing to work with, especially when you're on site trying to do a job professionally. So when NewBeeDrone gave me the CinemAh right here, they gave it to me in pieces, and they're like, you know, test it out, let us know. We think it's going to be pretty good. So I went ahead and built it. Let's start off with what I'm using. Okay, we have a GoPro Hero 8, which is pretty standard. I'm using a 4S 1350 kV battery, which is great. I'm also using the Cricket F7 20x20 stack and a Vista. Now, nothing's too fancy about the equipment that I'm using. I will tell you that the motors are NewBeeDrone Flow motors. They are 4150 kV at 1408, which are great. I've been flying like this, and what I will say about this quad is that the weight really makes a difference. Now, I will weigh this in just a second, but you can tell as soon as you get it up into the air that it is a lot lighter than the standard Cinewhoop, which is good. You still have the ducts. They're not actually a duct, they're more like guards, but that's great for weight, and you can still bounce into something, and you're going to get that safety aspect of what a standard Cinewhoop is going to give you. But the most important thing, like I said, is weight, and that allows you to fly in a way that gives you the more dynamic style of flying that you can get with, you know, like normal freestyle quads that you can't get with the standard DJI floating camera drones. So the main positive thing about this is the weight. Now, on a negative side, I will say that the build is pretty complicated as far as from a standard drone is concerned. So the way you have this layout, everything kind of interconnects, and you have these little slots here where they have to fit in, and everything's got to be put together in one piece. What I will say though is the top plate is all one piece, so you can kind of connect all your electronics and get it all in there and then bring this part in. But the way that this is connected, you have a nut inside and a screw at the top, and it kind of like pulls it together. But what this does give you is it gives you the lightest possible Cinewhoop style build that you can get. It's spinning 76mm propellers or 3-inch propellers, and so which is standard. I'm using the Fly by blade here, which gives a little bit more control, a little less efficient, but you know, relatively quiet. This is a really great setup. It's the best flying Cinewhoop that I've used so far, as far as trying to get that dynamic kind of shot that you can get with a 5-inch in a smaller and safer size. The camera attachment here, I've got one of those Cadix, like kind of smaller cameras. I really don't like this camera, and I'm going to switch to a standard DJI camera as soon as I can find one. But it is nice to fly a whole full-size GoPro because it's so much easier to get your settings set for each shot that you're doing. To mount your flight controller, you've got the standard M3 20x20 mounts in front, but it also has that Cinewhoop style diamond shaped board, so you have those mounting holes if you're going to use something like that. I know that's getting pretty popular nowadays, where you can get it all in one piece. I haven't tested that, but you do have M3 20x20s up front, and then the M2 Cinewhoop mounting pattern up front. And then in the back, and I'll take this out here, you do have a 20x20 M2 mounting, and that's great to mount your Caddx Vista, which I did that whole, I finally found screws that were the right thread pitch to screw right into the Vista. And so I have no screws, like it doesn't come all the way through, it just screws into the bottom of Vista. It's really great. But anyway, it's a pretty compact design. Like I said, it's a little more difficult, and because your flight controller is up here, it's kind of awkward to run your motor wires all the way up here. But once you get all that out the way, if you want something that is fun and decent to fly, but is still the Cinewhoop style drone, this really, to me, is the way to go. Now here's the scale, and if you can't see this, just trust me, I'm not lying. It is what I'm going to say it is. So all up weight is 495 grams, which most of the Cinewhoops that I've flown have been in the 5 to 550 plus weight. Even some I've had 650 to 700, which are total clunkers, but that's super light. As far as rigidity is concerned, I'm not going to stand here and claim that is a lot more rigid or a lot less rigid than any of the other Cinewhoops. I will tell you that the way the frame feels in my hands, I feel like it's got enough give and flex in the parts that are important, like the impact points here and back here, that it's going to absorb a lot of your impacts, but while still maintaining a certain rigidity in the style of the framing down here. So I really like this. This is going to be for sure my go-to Cinewhoop for work. I've used it several times in work, and I will continue to use it until something better comes out. However, I can't imagine anything being better than this. A couple more things I do want to point out is this GoPro mount has these like snap points where you can go from like a 0 degree to a 10 and I think like a 20 or 22 degree, which is great because most of the time you're going to have a fixed mount, or you're going to have one of those GoPro mounts where you unscrew it and then set it where you want. And this is super convenient if you're like, well, I need to speed up on my shots a little bit, boom, done. I need to go a little faster, boom, done. Too fast, like that, you're done, which is great. So I really like that idea. I have not noticed it changing position in flight, which was original concern that I had because it was something that you just pushed forward to snap into place. But with a Cinewhoop, you're not trying to like really gun it and do these fast flips and rolls. So it hasn't moved for my flying. Not saying that it won't, but in my experience, it hasn't been an issue. So what I'm going to end with when talking about this frame is that it's definitely a step in the right direction. You have that lightweight, but still the safety aspect of the edge protectors or the propeller protectors. And for me, it's exactly what I want. And for me, it's exactly what I'll continue to use. Every once in a while, when I am around people, when I'm really close or something a little bit more dangerous, especially I fly around my own kids pretty often, I'm going to feel a little more comfortable with this, but this is just because of the overall weight and size. It just feels less intimidating, especially for other people that are around. But for anything that's really professional, that's the way I'm going to go from now until something better comes out, which can't imagine what that would be, but you never know. Anyways, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I hope that is informative. I hope that helps you to make a decision if you're looking for something a little bit new and fancy and another thing to build. This is a little bit more difficult to build than most of the Cinewhoops out there, but just see that as a challenge because in the end, you're going to be really happy with this. Thank you for watching. I hope that was informative and have yourselves a great day. Bye.